Well, thank you everyone for joining our May 28th webinar on exploring Colombia. I'm joined today by two very special guests, the one and only Grettel Calderon, our Wildland Colombia director, and one of our favorite Colombian guides, Alvaro Castañeda. So just a few little notes real quick. One, on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a questions box, and we would love your questions. So anytime throughout the show, if you have a question for Grettel or Alvaro, please leave that as a question, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. So you can ask your questions anytime during the show or save it for the end. Second, we are all in different countries. I'm Jonathan, and I'm Wildland's marketing director, and I'm in Seattle. I have Grettel in Costa Rica and Alvaro in Colombia. So if there's a little bit of delay at all, please be patient. Slides will get clear if they're a little blurry at first. And thank you so much. So without any further ado, Grettel, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Alvaro. Yes, as he said, I'm a member of the Wildland team. I have been on the traveling business for over 25 years, 14 years with Wildland Adventures, and I'm based here in Costa Rica. I handle Central America, and also in recent years, I've been handling Cuba and now Colombia. This webinar with Alvaro Castañeda, one of our Colombian guides and operations collaborator, who will be the main speaker. Alvaro has been in the travel business for 12 years, and he works in Bogota and helps us with the operation of our trips there. When he's not in the office, he's guiding our travelers through the landscapes of Colombia. Being based there, of course, allows him to visit all the corners of Colombia constantly to suggest what for him is la creme de la creme in terms of hotels, activities, etc., which I then visit myself to come up with the best possible experiences we can deliver to our travelers. Together, we are going to share a little bit about the South American country, which is an emerging destination for us and for the world. I mean, in a serious way now, after the peace agreement was signed back in 2016, and also with the President Juan Manuel Santos winning the Nobel Peace Prize the same year, the number of travelers has increased and continues to increase exponentially in Colombia. Alvaro will cover some of the highlight areas for you to understand why it is a destination we highly recommend to visit now that the country still preserves its pristine and natural charm, and people are happy to receive travelers. I also want to make a brief introduction to Wildland as a company. We offer trips all around the world, mostly designing private custom itineraries for couples, friends, families of all ages, and authenticity is truly our hallmark. We avoid chain hotels and prefer to use small boutique properties when possible to avoid touristy areas and tourist traps in favor of more remote and authentic experiences. We try to stay in ecolodges, bungalows, glamping, private haciendas, etc. So without any further ado, I'm going to let Alvaro share what he has prepared for us. Thank you, Alvaro.
Thank you for being here. Grettel. Thank you for such a great introduction you just made of me. Hello, Wildland travelers. Welcome to this webinar about Colombia. And I have been guiding for about 12, 13 years, 2018. And through all the trips that have been in Colombia, I start thinking, what are the things that makes people travel to my country? So I found 6 facts that are actually the things that people always find as a changing heart experience in Colombia. First is art. We have art everywhere in terms of religious art, indigenous art, but also modern art such as graffiti in the streets, in murals, in many cities and many ways you can get to see that. Adventure, Colombia, due to the geography, has a lot of mountains, it has oceans, it has rivers. So it's like the perfect destination to do rafting, mountain biking, to do excellent hikes. Our gastronomy is just great. By being near to the Ecuador line, we don't have seasons in Colombia. That means that all year long you can have freshly harvested products. also we like to talk about the recent history of Colombia. By this I mean all the things that make now you think in a new destination. All these facts that got to happen just 20 or 30 years ago that probably banned Colombia out of the places to visit. But now, as things have changed, we have a new history to tell you. Our culture is great. It's influenced by the Spaniard and European colonizer, by our indigenous cultures, and also by African slaves that came to this part of America. And in terms of wildlife, this is like paradise for lovers of wildlife. We have the Amazon jungle, we have the plains of Los Llanos, we have the jungle of the Pacific coast, you have the jungle forest on the Caribbean, the Andean mountains. So here you can see pretty much a little bit of everything. And in order to arrange a trip up to Colombia, I always suggest to make a trip considering three branches or three lines. First is to go to the big metropolis, Bogota and Medellin. As per your international flight, you're gonna land in Bogota, capital of Colombia, a city of 8 million inhabitants, and then you wanna go to Medellin to experience all the social transformation of a city that was considered as one of the most dangerous places of the world back in the 80s, but now the innovation is the nickname of the place. In the colonial villages of the Andean region, I have beautiful towns such as Vidaleba and Barichara that will captivate your heart with amazing architecture and history. And then last but not least, the Caribbean region, the Tayrona and Cartagena parts that you cannot miss whenever you visit Colombia. So let's start talking about the big metropolis. Whenever you come to Bogota and to Medellin, the things that are gonna surprise you is our culture, our gastronomy, our art, and our history. So if you visit Bogota, here is a lot of art. I'm based in Bogota. I live near downtown in the area of the move. So I experience these kind of things every day of my life. There is a lot of history. There is a lot of cultural events that are happening very often. So let's talk first about Bogota graffiti art. These pictures that I have here were taken in some of our tours in the old quarter of La Candelaria. But I have another ones in the graffiti district of Bogota that were made by very well-known graffiti artists such as Ledania or Toxicomano. They live very close to my house, so I know a little bit about their history, about their philosophy, about their background. I will be more than happy to share those stories with you once you come to Bogota. When we go to the old quarter of La Candelaria, we'll have the chance to visit Bogota's Gold Museum. This place has the biggest collection of pre-Columbian gold worldwide. We're talking about 34,000 pieces of gold that were made before the Spaniards arrived to America. This is an amazing collection that will lead through the legend of El Dorado. This will be the discovery of the old quarter. Also, this is a picture of the old quarter of La Candelaria, colonial and Republican architecture. But if you ever come to Bogota, please think to make it to my city during a weekend, because on Sundays we have something called ciclovia. This ciclovia is that we close some of the streets of the city from 7 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon for people to bike, to skate, or just walk with their families while having healthy fruits on the streets. Talking about fruits, this is one of the visits that are my favorite in Bogota, the food market of Palo Quemado. In this place, we do a presentation of our country through the most tastiest fruits you can ever see. We will sample lulos, uchuvas, passion fruits, granadillas. All these fruits are going to be with us during our trip to Colombia, and you will love all of them. And if you ever heard about Colombia, you know about our coffee. We do produce top quality coffee, and our most known region is Colombian coffee region. But just 1 hour away from Bogota, I have one of the best coffees hacienda of Colombia, where we produce those exotic coffees that are sold in more than $100 a bag of 500 grams. Those coffees are known as geisha or bourbon or pink bourbon, and we know in Wildland the place where you can experience the best the Colombian coffee. In terms of gastronomy, we have a little bit of everything. We have great barbecue places. We have typical restaurant food where you can try the best soup of Bogota called ajiaco. a potato and chicken stew that is very, very hearty for cold days. When we go to Medellin, we're talking about a different thing. Here, the art lives in the street, but we also talk about the recent history of Colombia and the pueblos, the small villages nearby. So when we talk about the comunas, we talk about these very popular neighborhoods that are that are located in the upper side of Medellin. So here on your right hand side, I'm pointing some electric escalators. These ones were made by the local government of Medellin in order to provide different means of transportation to the people who were living in the upper side of the mountains. By doing this, they were able to provide better ways to these people to go to the city and get a job and has an easier way of life. This is the inclusion that brought development to Medellin. By doing this, the city getting involved into art and music, and everything gets to be very different. Why? Because we're going to talk about the recent history. We're not afraid about talking the former drug lord Pablo Escobar, but we're not gonna make a tribute. What I will do in Medellin with you while visiting Colombia is to tell you the things that got to happen 30 or 20 years ago, how those things affect us as a country, and how we will be able to emerge from the ashes and build our new country, our new history. In Medellin, actually, we put this slide here that is very particular. Is Medellin's metro is the only city of Colombia that has a metro, and we always include a metro ride because when you are in the train, you can experience the culture of the paisas. This is the way we nickname people from Medellin, and this is probably the friendliest culture in Colombia. You really want to talk to them, to experience the way they live, to experience the way they are all the time smiling, because it's something that will change your heart. One of the most beautiful towns near Medellin is called Guatape. All the houses of Guatape has all these designs that I'm pointing here that are called zocalos. I have looked on the dictionary and translators, and I never found the translation for zocalo, so I will call it just like that. But now you can explore a visit that is 100% zocalizado. So we are going to ride a tuk-tuk through the town, see very beautiful designs, and then we can climb to the top of the rock of El Peñol. So after 640 steps, you will be rewarded with this breathtaking view of the lake of Guatapé. Another beautiful colonial town near Medellin we have is Santa Fe de Antioquia, with a pristine, preserved colonial architecture and these hanging bricks, all wooden, that comes from 1920. Those are the facts that makes to Medellin a place to visit. Now let's talk about the colonial towns. The ones that I prefer to show always is Villa. In here we go for the nature, we go for the adventure, and for the history. So let's go first with Villa de Leyva. Villa de Leyva is located about 120 miles away from Bogota. It's in a kind of arid Andean mountain. It's a town full of history founded by the Spaniards during the time of the colony and declared as their icon of civilization that they brought from Europe. But the first thing that you're going to see there is the fossil valley. In this photo we have here, there is a Pliosaurus. This is a fossil of a fossil that was found in the town 40 years ago, more or less, by a couple of farmers. But this fossil belongs to an animal that was extincted about 140 millions of years ago. And all over the area of Villa de Leyva, you will see that the houses are decorated with ammonites, and you can just easily break a stone and find your own fossil. This is the way that Villa de Leyva is. Another thing, that you will see in Villa de Leyva, if you want to make a good cloud forest hike, is the sanctuary of Iguaque. This little lake that I have here on my left is located over the 12,000 feet, and is very important for the Muiscas indigenous community, the original inhabitants of this area, because they used to say that this is the place of birth of humankind. But before to make it to this lake, you have to hike through a very interesting trail, passing small rivers, and you can appreciate local trees, endemic plants, and also, as this is part of the cloud forest, it's a great opportunity for bird watching. There are two endemic species of birds in this area. One of those is the emerald hummingbird, and whenever I go, I have to say that there is an 80% of probability to see the emerald hummingbird and a couple of endemic toucans in the area. Also, one of the great things that I have in Villa de Leyva is the Terracotta House. This house was built about 50 years ago by a local architect. He wanted to build his house completely out of clay, and he made it in situ. Now it's a place where everybody goes to get ideas about how to decorate their own house, and it's such a great, interesting visit to do once in Villa de Leyva. Also, the colonial history of the town is very interesting. Why? Because this place was considered as the most beautiful jewel of the crown in the Spanish kingdom in Colombia. Sorry. So you will see a very big main plaza where they used to do military parades, and also all the streets are covered. That's a different story that I will tell you once you come with me. Now let's go to Barichara. Barichara is another beautiful town. It's warmer compared to Villa de Leyva because we are landing in Bogota, where the temperature is about 50 to 60 degrees. Then in Villa de Leyva is about 60, but in Barichara is about 70 to 75 degrees. It's warmer. Here you want to explore the architecture. All the town is built by the technique of the rammed earth. So the first thing that I will do there is that I will take you with my friend Santiago, a local architect, to do a workshop of rammed earth. So you will have the opportunity to ramp the earth and help in the construction of one of the walls of the town, or also help to bring some bricks like the ones that were used in the churches of the town. All of those with raw materials is something impressive to see. But one of my favorite things in Barichara is the adventure. The adventure lives in this area. There are several trails where you can do friendly hikes, and also there are plenty of rivers to do whitewater rafting. We have rivers with rapids level 3 up to level 5. And also, if you like mountain biking, this is me, the one with the blue jersey, next to Kirkutai, Wildland's owner. We were doing these activities about 2 years ago. Kurt is in his late 60s, and he was able to do all those activities with us. So don't worry, we have measured all of them, and we are pretty sure you can enjoy all the adventure activities we have in Santander region. Where we do those activities, we have two big canyons near Barichara. On my left, I have the Suarez Canyon, and I'm pointing here one trail that goes from Barichara to Guane. This is a friendly 6 miles trail that is mostly downhill. That is a perfect opportunity to do bird watching. Last time I did it, like 2 weeks ago, we got to see mudmots, we got to see vermilions, we got to see woodpeckers and hummingbirds in this trail. And then on my other photo, I have the Chicamocha Canyon. In this, we can do mountain biking, we can do whitewater rafting, or we can just simply cross the canyon on a cable car on a very scenic spot. Now let's talk about the Caribbean. This is the northern part of Colombia, and we divide it in two parts. First, the Tayrona National Park, or the Tayrona region, and second, Cartagena. What I like about Tayrona Park, maybe you have heard about this park, or maybe you have heard about Santa Marta, or maybe Palomino. I prefer to call the whole area Tayrona because it's the ancient indigenous name of the area. In this part, we have great nature hikes on the jungle forest. You can hike through trails that were built several centuries ago. You can go to experience the flora and fauna of the area, and sometimes depending on the weather condition and depending the area we will visit, you can also do a horseback or muleback ride. This is actually Kurt again in our exploration trip 2 years ago. In the Caribbean coast, especially in Tayrona, due to the conditions of the region, you can do a great bird watching. Colombia is listed as the country with the biggest quantity of birds worldwide. 1 month ago, in the Global Big Day, we won the competition and we now have more than 1900 bird species. If you ever come to do bird watching in this area, in just one single day, I can tell you, you will see more than 40 bird species in a single day. It's just breathtaking. I also, one of the things that I really like to do here is to go and visit my friends of the indigenous community of Seuducua. They are Kogi indigenous and they are welcome us in their place. They will show us their town, their traditions, the way they dress, the way they use the coca leaf, and also at the end they will provide a hearty lunch and they will do an aseguranza. This is a ritual where they will give us some cufflinks to protect us against any evil. I have mines, and I can tell you, I live 100% safe. Now we're talking about Cartagena. Cartagena is the hidden gem of the Caribbean. It's the place that everybody wants to visit when visiting Colombia, and I'm going to tell you why. First, because of the walled city and fortresses. So here, I have two of the fortresses of Cartagena. First, I'm pointing the fortress of San Felipe de Barajas. This is just next to the old quarter, to the walled city. But the other one that I have here is called the fortress of San Fernando. This is completely out of the beaten path. It's our discover in Wildland, and we decided to include it in every visit to do to Cartagena. Why? Because this is by the ocean. It's in a small island, 10 minutes boat ride from the city, and nobody goes there. This is completely out of the crowds of tourists during the cruise ship season in Cartagena, and it's a place where you can feel the real history in a single place. But also, Cartagena is more than history. It's about culture. It's about food. And the street food of Cartagena is just amazing. I can tell you, just take a coffee or to have a popsicle in place where the owner was awarded with the worldwide Guinness record of the biggest shrimp ceviche ever served. Nobody knows where it is, but I do, and in Wildland we will take you to that place. Another area that we will explore in Cartagena is the district of Gethsemane. 10 years ago, this part, even though is within the historical area of Cartagena, was unexplored because there were nothing to see. But we, as with a group of guides, started to go there, started discovering the area, and we put Gethsemane on the map. Now you can go, you will see a boom of street art, of street food, of music, culture, locals just having fun in their houses. It's just amazing to interact with the locals at the district of Gethsemane. Another thing that is very interesting to see in Cartagena is related to the music. This picture was taken during the Cartagena Music Festival that only get to happen once a year. But I will take you to the music collective of La Boquilla. That is a fisherman village next to the old quarter where their guys are practicing all year long for this presentation. So we are going to see the Cartagena's drums and the Cartagena's flautas and gaitas and all those instruments that are part of our legacy. And through those instruments, we are going to experience the Caribbean rhythms such as cumbia, mapale, maybe a little bit of reggaeton that comes nearly from Cartagena, and some vallenato music. Those are the rhythms that makes the best in our trip. And last but not least, this is my perfect itinerary to Colombia. I'm not going very deep on this because we're gonna send you the itinerary through an email. But this is the way I would spend 14 days discovering all the places that I just mentioned. I will start in Bogota. We go to Villa de Leyva, to Barichara, then fly to Medellin, and then move to the Caribbean coast to Tayrona and Cartagena. In this presentation, I just covered like 40% of the country, but there is way more to show in Colombia. We are more than happy to assist you with that. And now I'm going to pass the voice to Gretel. Thank you very much for your time. I really enjoy sharing this with you.
Thank you, Alvaro. I'm going to speak a little bit louder because it's raining really hard here in Costa Rica. Thank you for the information that you have shared with us. That itinerary that he just showed is basically our highlights of Colombia, pretty similar, with just an extension to Medellin. I want to emphasize that this is just a part of Colombia. Colombia is a very extensive country. There is much more to it. It's about 22. So if you're ready to embrace, to be embraced by this vibrant society, take advantage of the $400 per person discount we are offering and try to plan your new experience to Colombia soon.
Hey, Grettel, your audio is a little off right now. I think the rain there might be giving you some trouble. But also real quick, we're just about to start our Q&A. So if you have questions, right on the left-hand side of your screen is a box that you can type in your questions. And if you can go back, Alvaro, one slide again, just to reiterate that if you book a trip with Wildland Adventures by June 30th, it's a $400 off per person on your trip. So that's really exciting, and Grettel and Alvaro can work together to build a custom trip for you. So it's an incredible deal and a wonderful opportunity and time to go to Colombia. So without further ado, questions, we'll get to your guys' questions. So first off, Alvaro, maybe you can take this one. Is Colombia good for families with small children?
Absolutely, yes. We have plenty of activities for everybody to enjoy. Well, for example, Bogota Ciclovia is a great opportunity. The food is friendly to everyone. It's not spicy, it's not heavy, it's very balanced, and it's always fresh. And all our destinies are 100% safe for families.
That's great. And we have another question here. Is there an ideal time to visit Colombia?
Well, as we don't have seasons, anytime you want to visit us is great. It depends on your availability to travel.
That's great to know. And another one here. How is the infrastructure in Colombia? And I'm guessing they're referring to the roads and just getting around.
Well, in terms of infrastructure and roads, there is a little lack of development, and that's the reason why sometimes we have to fly instead of being 10 hours on a road. For example, we fly from Medellin to Caramanga, or from Barichara or Santander region to Medellin, because it's just a 30 minutes flight. But if we ever make it by car, it will take us like 10 hours. So that's the reason why sometimes we prefer to fly.
Awesome. And here's another one here. How long should people start to plan a trip? How long do you think in advance someone needs?
The minimum for, say, that like the low season in Colombia, it would be like 60 days. But there is a very high season here that is the end of December and the beginning of January, the first 2 weeks of January. If you want ever to visit Colombia in that season, you will need at least 6 months in advance.
Okay, so we have another one here from Esther. How's the weather in August?
The weather in August is great. Bogota is a little windy because we have all the winds that comes from Europe, but it's dry season and it's perfect to do any activity.
So another one here. My friend is a huge birder. What areas can you see the most birds?
In the Indian region of Colombia, near Bogota, there are great bird watching paradises. I mean, just half an hour from Bogota, I have two places where you can see good parts for bird watching. The coffee region of Colombia, the Colombian Orinoco, possibly all over the country. It depends on the special interest. If there is any like endemic species you want to see, that might help you plan your trip. But all over the country, you see birds.
Great. So here is Grettel's information. Since Grettel's having a little technical difficulties with the rain in Costa Rica, I will do my best to say thank you from Grettel and me and Alvaro for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions for Grettel and Alvaro that we didn't get to today, feel free to email Grettel@wildland.com. We will also be sending a copy of this recording and more information about how to plan a trip to Colombia. So stay tuned for that newsletter. And thank you so much for joining us. We got one more question under the buzzer here.
Yes.
From Glenn, can activity level be toned down? And I will say 100%. As some of the earlier slides showed, the owner of Wildland is in his 60s and was able to do many of the full adventure activities, but Grettel and Alvaro can work in as much adventure or as little adventure as you'd like. And that's a great thing about working with a tour operator like Wildland, is that we can customize pretty much anything you want just to make that dream trip happen. So if we don't have any other questions, I will wrap it up. Once again, thank you so much to Grettel and Alvaro for joining us, and everyone else, stay wild and have a great day.